Welcome to the High Vibration Reset. I'm Ciara Conlon, your host, and my goal with this podcast is to simplify transformation, to help you have more energy, more flow, and more freedom in your life, and ultimately so that you can reach your full potential. This week's guest is Mike Burton. Now, Mike is a motivational speaker and a mental health ambassador. He is the most positive, upbeat, and high vibrational person you can ever meet. But Mike has come through a lot of adversity. He's been through abuse, trauma of all sorts, and he's come out the other side to share a message with the world. And that's what he sees as his purpose. The reason why he's here is to uplift other human beings. And an interesting thing about Mike is that he does not do this for money. He is doing this because this is his calling. Mike was also the principal of a school for disadvantaged children. And through that, he has changed other people's lives. Now he wants to bring that message out into the world. So in this conversation, Mike tells us a little bit about his backstory, but also shares what's coming from the heart, what he believes is necessary for us to all get out there and share the message of positivity, of love, of connection with other human beings. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation. And just before we get into it, I want to remind you that the Life Flow community has currently, at the time of recording, I think 7 free places left. And remember, these are lifetime free membership places. So get in quick before there is a cost to joining the community. Enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining me on my podcast. We've known each other a little while, and it's such a privilege to have you here. So thank you.
No, I'm excited for it. As I said on my story just a moment ago, it's one that I've really been looking forward to. Just the name of the High Vibration podcast is like, that is what life's about.
That's your vibe.
That is it.
Absolutely. So look, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you came to be a motivational speaker, a mental health advocate, and
Wow.
Mr. Positivity.
I don't think we've got 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think if there's one thing I realised later in life is God gave me a gift, which was to talk. So I'll try not to talk too much. Well, it's been a crazy journey, and feel free to ask any questions and delve into any elements of it. But simply, obviously now I'm 41 years old, and I am now a proud motivational speaker and health and mental health ambassador. It has been a wild journey in my life. I've suffered everything but sexual abuse in my life, and we can delve into all parts of it. But I genuinely believe we have so many people who do podcasts, and I see people who, motivational speakers all across the world. And we could sit here and I could tell you everything that's happened to me. And, we could get a sob story around how difficult it's been. But I genuinely believe this. Everybody has their own story. Everyone's got a story behind the eyes. Everybody. I was in Starbucks this morning and I was documenting my morning routine, and I just spoke to the lady. She's just come out of the Navy and she had a near-death experience, and she's got into journaling and mental health. And I'm like, the reason I do what I do is because I genuinely believe this. But the biggest problem I see in society for us is we judge everybody's story bigger than somebody else's. So the tagline, which is all over the world, is it's good to talk, but nobody talks why people truly don't talk. Because if I'm the first person to talk and I tell you that I've been abused by my stepfather and I've lived in cars, shelters, women's, refuges, and I've been to multiple primary schools and I couldn't read and write at 16, I nearly went if I told you that, even if your mother was, struggling with cancer, you wouldn't tell me, because you'd be like, well, it's not as bad as mine. You know, it can't be. So obviously, I'm not going to burden Mike with that. And that's what people need to remember. Mental health, everybody has it. It's good, it's average, or it's bad. That's it. It's as simple as that. And what we need to do is work as hard as we can to be able to keep it as good as possible, but also appreciate that everybody's trauma is their trauma. And I always say this, my dad left me before I was born. Someone else could have lost their cat. At that point of realization of that trauma, we're both going to feel the same because that's the biggest thing that's happened to them. The difference is the person who's lost the cat, that will subside quicker. Mine's lifelong. That's the difference. But at that moment in time, your world's ending. And that's the difference when I say to people is why I try and do what I do every single day is purely because we all need a little bit of hope. We need to know that actually life can be better. And I never thought it could be. Growing up without a father, without a positive role model in my life, without having money, living in multiple homes, scared for your life. And that doesn't even come into the same bracket as also I'm mixed race, as we spoke about. We do have different shades of skin, my friend. But but when I grew up on the roughest estates in the country, I was the only mixed race person. Diversity wasn't a thing. I was a Paki in people's eyes. That was it. I was different. So even fighting for acceptance, and I know it's something we can speak about on this podcast more than many that I speak on, is that's where when you say to yourself, my dad left me before, my biological dad left me before I was born, my stepdad abused me, I had no positive role model, I suffered racial abuse, I didn't fit into society, and I was fighting for acceptance my whole life. No wonder when I was 37, I realized I had social anxiety.
Yeah.
That is where, until you start peeling back the onion, you'll never know why you act the way you are, because we are made up of our environment, our upbringing, our role models in our life, and we don't choose to act the way that we do. We are designed by the environments we're exposed to until we change it.
That's a beautiful thing to start with, because so many people think that their pain is not valid because it's not, as you say, as severe as what you experienced in your childhood. So therefore, I can't talk about mine. You know, I even remember, and I know this is probably a silly example, but when my first dog died,
Yes.
could not believe the grief. And I thought, you're an idiot. What are people going through? This is just a dog. You know, so I was comparing my grief to people who had lost parents,
Yep.
children. It's nothing. But as you say, the feeling is the same in the moment. I got
And
over it
of course you do. But
quicker.
why do you this is going to be an interesting conversation because I can have an educated conversation. Is I know the podcast's meant to be about you interviewing me, but you know, this is going to be a two-way conversation. So it might be a bit more enjoyable for you in one respect or not. Is why do you think that is? Why do you think that? I know you felt stupid
Mm.
because your dog passed away and you know you felt grief, but why do you think people feel grief when they lose something?
Yeah, it's well, I think what I've understood by that is I think the people or the animals that are with you in your everyday moments are part of your experience. Or I think what they say is your brain is mapped with them in it.
Yes.
So when, even though it's an animal, is removed from that mapping, it's hard for us to go about our day without it
Yeah.
included.
And
But
sorry, carry on.
on a deeper level, I think it's also the programming that we have, that there are such atrocities happening in the world.
100%.
You know, and I think that's what a lot of people are feeling right now is my pain is not serious enough. There are wars happening. So therefore they invalidate themselves in what
And I
they're
think, you
experiencing.
know, when serious things can pass people's paths every single day
Yeah.
and it doesn't bother them, they don't even acknowledge it. And the one thing I'll try and give as much as I can in this hour or so when we're talking is I don't class myself as being very educated. So I get to be able to take really difficult things and put it in really simple language that someone can take away. So I'll try and give as many golden nuggets as I can so people can understand why they are the way they are and also how they can be better and tools that they can go away and use.
Excellent.
Because the average day person isn't somebody who's going to read a journal. They're not somebody who's going to read a book that's, in depth. They're not going to understand the neurological makeup of their body. They just need to know, why do I feel this way? And whether you have lost a dog, someone's racially abused you, someone showed you true love, whatever it is, you just need to remember this. When you feel pain or happiness, is you will never remember the words or actions that somebody does in your life. You'll only ever remember the way they make you feel.
Yes.
And the reason the pain came when your dog left, not because you are strange, not because you're pathetic, is because you felt love. There's a reason that. So when I always say to people, you can have 7 different teachers in school. Why do you choose the one that you like? Because whether it's the subject or the way they speak to you, it's the way they make you feel when you walk in a classroom. It's nothing to do with the teaching. And that's the difference, because your conscious mind can just guide you through the day and you can be oblivious. Your subconscious mind is made up by your thoughts and feelings, and that's your identity. And that never goes away, by the way. So until you learn to understand that, and that is purely driven by your emotions and the way that you have been built as a person. And that is both happiness and it is negativity as well. And that's why you're scared. And that's why when I used to walk in a room of people I didn't know, I'd walk in and I would look the most confident person in the world. Inside, I had the highest vibration of anxiety that you'd ever felt in your life. And nobody would know, because all I'd be doing, I'd be coming up and going, I love your glasses. Are they nice earrings? Oh, where did you get your podcast mic from? Really, all I'm really saying to you is, please like me, please love me, don't reject me. That's social anxiety in a nutshell, and nobody can see it. Do you know why? It's the same when I say to people is, it's like addiction is the closest thing I've seen to severe mental health. Yeah. The reason being is, and when I say this, gambling addiction, yeah, is the nearest thing to severe mental health. Do you know why? Because you can't see it. You look at somebody who's addicted to gambling, until it's ruining their life, you'll never know, because they don't look drunk. They're not under the influence of drugs. The same when somebody is struggling with mental health, you cannot see it until it's too late. And that's the problem with it. And that's why I so wish one of my missions in life is, why do we have to break before we get better and actually give ourselves the tools to improve our mindset, to live a happier life? So when adversity comes your way, you are ready for it because you have the tools. But what we do is, and I promise you when I say this, I class myself as a fake inspirational speaker, like 99.9% of them, because I'm sure there's one person I haven't seen yet who, in my eyes, is a true inspirational speaker, because we all talk about how our life was ruined and we bounce back. That's not inspiration for me. It's, when I look at that, you're not a motivational speaker. You are doing something that is to help motivate other people, and it is inspirational that you help them change your life. But in my eyes, the true, most authentic inspirational speaker would be somebody who said, I was living my happiest life and I did all the work on my mental health and mindset. And then true adversity came my way and I had the tools to overcome it. And now I'm going to tell you about it. But guess what? That doesn't make for a good story, does it?
Yeah, no, not exactly. And tell me this, when was that moment for you? Because you went through very dark times in your younger years. And then how were you lucky enough to meet somebody that guided you into the
Um,
light? Or what was the moment for you? Can you remember?
well, I can always remember up until the age of 16, as I said to you, and I'd left school, no qualifications, didn't go to school. I was involved in a gang, on the way to prison, fighting, drink, drugs, everything you could imagine to survive. And I always remember I wasn't a bad person. I lived with my nana up until the age I was about 7, until my mum took us back into a full-time care, and with a stepdad who ended up abusing us and was suffering domestic violence her whole life up until the age of 13. Um, And I was still had those same values that my nana taught me: be kind, you can achieve anything. But I just didn't have the self-belief or self-confidence or the surroundings or role models in my life. My mum and sister was amazing. We survived it together, and I wouldn't be without them. I can't thank them enough. But none of us was strong enough at that point to break out of that cycle. But at 16, leaving school after escaping going to prison, after not falling into the trap of really severely damaging my life, having no education, I had to walk into an enrollment hall because my mum gave me two options: go to college or I'm kicking you out. Enough was enough. And I went into college at 16, and I had a point at that point: continue with drink, underage drinking, violence, trouble, no education, or go to college with no friends, no qualifications, you can't read and write. That was my turning point in life. I literally got rid of every single friend I had in my life. I walked into that hall alone. My mum made me do it. And I walked in, I walked over to the sports desk because I thought I'll do sport because you don't need to read and write. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah. Big mistake, because the first thing they did, the guy handed me an enrollment card. And I'm not lying to you, it was the most embarrassing moment of my life. Do you know why? I couldn't read it.
Wow.
I couldn't read the enrollment card to get into college. I had to have assistants to fill it out. And that moment was the changing point in my life because I had to learn to read and write from newspapers, magazines. I was studying at the same level as a child in year 3 at school. Learning to read and write properly. Entry level 1, the lowest course you can do at secondary education, further education, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and then that was the turning point in my life, and
Fantastic.
it was the most difficult thing I ever had to do.
Yeah. And you continued then from there studying.
Ah, it was
What
a.
did the
I always say when people, when I go, if you look at my page, Mike Burton's positive messages, when people see me live, because I don't share the deep
Mm,
stuff online out of respect for my family and for myself. And also, I don't want to go viral on social media because people feel sorry for me.
yeah.
My purpose is to help people live that happiest life possible, create a community where people are there to try and live a more positive life. So, but when people see me speak live and I share everything, because I genuinely believe this, you could watch me for 30 seconds online. I can't impact you properly. You sit in a chair and watch me speak for 60 minutes. I can change your life. And the reason I say that is I want to see the whites in people's eyes. I want them to see this is real. This isn't any zooms. There's no gimmicks. There's no objects dropping from the sky and captions coming over the screen. It's real life.
Yeah.
And that's when I share everything. And when I finish, people always say to me, now we know where the positive messages come from.
Yeah.
And that is the true belief, because I genuinely believe there's a champion inside of everybody. And sometimes you need somebody to believe in you, or you need to take the step to believe in yourself.
So then that's my question. So for the people who are, in those dark times, what is it, Mike? Is it mindset that you have to overcome what's going on in your mind? Is it just take the action? How
I,
do you get
I
started?
think if I was to say to some people is, I'll give you the beginning bit of that story after college, and then it might give you some
Yeah.
context to why I get to the point that I'm mostly going to speak about. So I started this course at rock bottom, the lowest you can. And the only thing I said to myself is I'm going to try. And the biggest thing is I am going to try to avoid every negative influence in my life, because they are going to give me a way out of the toughest thing I'm about to do, because we all crave comfort and security. I didn't know I was struggling with social anxiety at that point, low self-esteem, no self-worth, yeah, childhood trauma, attachment issues. I didn't know any of that. It wasn't publicized then. I was just a kid trying to survive. And you can be a child at 16 trying to survive. You can be an adult at 45 trying to survive, because they hit a crossroads, but you have to make a decision. And I say this all the time. There is no right decision. Make a decision. You're never going to know it's perfect, but make it right along the way. I'll say that again for anybody watching. Make a decision and make it right along the way. Because if you think it's going to be perfect, you'll never make a decision, because that's impossible.
Yeah.
So then I went through that. I ended up working really hard. After a year, I could read and write, and I passed my entry level. I got to level 1. And because I then didn't realize I had ADHD and I needed to do things, I was undiagnosed. I started volunteering at the local college gym. So, but because I still, the social anxiety mixed with ADHD meant I couldn't sit still and I needed to be liked by everybody. So I spoke to every single person in the gym, young, old, everybody. I was the most helpful gym instructor in the world. Yeah. And I went helping out, and I got offered to go for a trainee gym instructor job. And the gym manager saying, "You're really helping out. You're volunteering on your course. You're doing amazing. Go for this job." 2 weeks goes by. Application's about to close. "Have you gone for the job, Mike?" "No, I haven't." "Why did I not?" "How do you fill an application form out?" I didn't even know how to fill a blooming enrollment form out. So she helped me fill it out. Went in, got this job. 4.5 hours a week, trainee gym instructor. Unbelievable. Proudest moment of my life. The one thing I'll tell you, that was the first and last job interview I've ever had in my life. At that point at 17, never had another one. Yeah. So what happened at that point is I ended up becoming a trainee gym instructor. Told any girl that I'd listen, I was fully qualified straight away. You know, because I was young and I wanted that wasn't social anxiety. That was me just trying to like get women on side. But you know, I think I've always tried to be a charmer as well. But when I look at that, I turned around and I did that. So I ended up becoming a gym instructor, passed my course, level 1 passed, level 2 passed. Then I became a personal trainer. And by this time, nobody was really personal training face to face. And in the gym, they had exercise classes, instructors. And what I say to people is sometimes your biggest adversity or challenges, like my ADHD, could be your superpower without you even knowing. So because I didn't understand myself, but I knew I wanted to be accepted. I still had the morals of being kind from a nana, and I was really polite. So I went in, I spoke to everybody. I started personal training one day. 3 weeks later, I had 60 clients.
Wow.
The power of being kind, being sociable in a world now where people don't want you to speak face to face. I know we're talking online now, but I love the fact that it's like this and you can actually do it video recorded rather than just audio, and people can see it and feel it in the best way possible. But community is dying. Do you know it is? You don't go to your next door neighbor and ask for a loaf of bread or a few slices of bread and sugar anymore, do you?
No.
At best, you text them. You know, but you don't do that. It's just not. And that is a massive cause of mental health, in my opinion. People don't interact properly anymore. We don't communicate as humans. You know, we don't do that. So actually the barriers are being put in place. But so then I didn't realize at the time why it was. Now I do know, because obviously, as I said to you before, and I always take you back lessons in my life and I don't read books, by the way. I don't read books. I don't listen to, in-depth podcasts. I don't take, often if things pop up, they reaffirm what I think, because people always go, "How do you know what you know?" And I said this, I'll just revisit that point when I said, why did I have all those clients? Because nobody ever remembered the words I said to them, did they? They only ever remembered the way I made them feel. Mike, lovely, kind, always there, smiling. So why would they not want me to train them? So if you're in business or you're in life, remember this, them words, you literally, and all I did is, and this is how I've lived my life. I turned up, I worked hard, I was kind, and I was always in the right place at the right time. And then I got my next opportunity, not with a job interview or anything else, because those 4 things worked for me. And then I just kept repeating it without knowing. Underpinned by number 5, which I didn't realize was happening, but it did, because my subconscious doesn't forget, as I said, and you know this, was all underpinned by the biggest fear of rejection and failure. That was it. Everything was underpinned. I did all that, and I was that scared of failing. I worked twice as hard because the fear of being rejected, like my dad leaving me and my stepdad abusing me, was more motivating than anything. But I've become a personal trainer. Then a guy comes along and says to me, who taught me on my course, because I worked in the college gym, "Mike, why don't you why don't you be the teacher of the course that you started on?" I was like, "Me, work with kids. I'm a scumbag, criminal record. I can't do that." He said, "It's 17.5 grand a year." I went, "I'll give it a go. No problem." So before I know it, now I'm this teacher. I'm teaching a course of the kids that was on my course, which was entry level 1, which was youth offending, excluded from school, hadn't been to school, childhood trauma, never succeeded at anything. They was on this course like I was. I did what my teacher did. Yeah, we was meant to be the naughty kids. So you played football, spoon-fed them the answers, and hope you got to the end of the year.
Yeah.
I did that for 1 year, and I was 23 years old, and I was like, I went to my curriculum manager and said, can I rewrite this curriculum? This isn't good enough. And he said, yeah, do you know what you're doing? I went, no.
Having a clue.
So I got a clue. So I went off that summer and I thought, and this is when I say this to people, the magic to change the world is inside of you.
Mm.
If you're looking at innovating your business, you have most of the answers yourself, but you're looking for the easy route externally. I did the same thing, researched everything, looked at everything, nothing worked. So I looked and thought, what would have I wanted?
Yeah.
If you've built a business, whether it's in mindset coaching, you can use, obviously you need certain qualifications, but your way that you deliver it needs to be your way.
Yeah.
Because you will do something that no one's ever done before in a way that no one's ever seen, and it will change people's lives because you are you and no one can be you. So I looked and thought, what did I need? And it underpinned, I needed to feel something. These children didn't engage in education because of it was the social norm just to read from a book. So I turned around and said, how do I connect with them emotionally like I would? So I took videos and pictures of all of the things the kids did. I made all the maths and English teachers use these visual content to build everything they did on, all the work. And I did. Year later, 100% achievement, 98% attendance, everybody off youth offending and all progressing. I changed it all round by no theory, no educational pedagogy, none of that, purely from my heart. I got nominated for it, and I got nominated for to become a national role model for the work I was doing with kids.
Fantastic.
And the equality and diversity officer walked into the college and said, Mike, I've nominated you for an award. I said, what you done that for, you dickhead? But you know the answer why I said that. I didn't think excitement. I thought rejection. I can't win. No way I could win this.
But
But
that's interesting as well. What when you started to realize, or now in later years, that a lot of what you did was that drive to, get validation, to be recognized, to be liked, but I mean, that is really what every human being aspires
of
to.
course it does. Just never
You
brave enough to say it.
And you connected that to obviously the trauma that you were through. But for a lot of people, that trauma has just been rejected by a boyfriend or a girlfriend or, a teacher
Yeah.
not being nice to them. So, and it still creates those emotions inside that we all have, the needs
Yeah.
that we all have for belonging. And you, Mike, in your experience, the change, I suppose, was through community.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was craving. And I say this now because we've been both part of a social circle community. And
Yeah.
I actually, if anybody doesn't realize and you're watching this, I don't sell anything. I'm actually not a mindset coach. I ain't got a community group, can't buy a program. I'm not selling you an ebook, nothing. I've sent 799 messages in 799 days for free. And if I was bothered about blowing up and likes and views, nobody does 799 days without even getting 10K followers. Why would you? You wouldn't, unless it's your purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when I say to people is the power of community, as we spoke about, is I was just craving to be part of a community, but I was never fully in it because I always thought the cards would fall down. When I was a gym instructor, I get found out I'm not clever enough. Personal trainer, all my clients will leave me. Become a teacher. How am I a teacher? I am definitely getting found out, about this. Can't do lesson plans. Even when I went to these awards, I said to the person afterwards, oh, do you reckon, how many people's in it? Just because I thought, there's a bit, of course we want to win. Of course we want to be recognized. I turned and he goes, 7,000. I went, oh, nightmare.
Wow.
So then I made it to the last 200. We had to send all the evidence off, made it to the last 3. And I was going and it was on TV. It was a National Equality Diversity Award. So I was off to Manchester in England, sorry. And I walked in and anybody watching the same hotel, Victoria and David Beckham, first date, all there, walked in, 3 people in a category, Asian Businesswoman of the Year, changing 10,000 people's lives. And a guy who was in a wheelchair spoke through his foot, went round the city of Leeds, found a found shops, arcades, bowl, everything that was accessible for people with his condition, put it out there so they could do it. I fell in love with him. I was like, met his mum and dad there. I was like, definitely winning. And there's me who's just helping, hard to reach kids. So we're going through there. Microsoft's the head sponsor. We walk in, literally VIP lounge, celebrities there, everyone. And I'm like, for somebody who's got social anxiety and talks a lot and ADHD, I was quiet. The people I was with went, oh, strange to see you quiet. So I did what all good people do. I got absolutely pissed on the wine and everything else. So I sat there, the awards coming up, and I brought no speech, no nothing. Because, of course, like anybody else,
You didn't
you have
expect
that
it.
low self-esteem, you're never going to win.
Oh.
Opening line, Open University, the guy who's the CEO of it, first opening line was there. Bearing in mind, I remind you, I'm drunk at this point, happy for this guy who's about to win. And they go, through the power of education,
Wow.
yeah, this is on TV, 2 big screens either side, 400 people there, yeah, screens, they know I'm winning. It all turns to me, the cameras. I come up on the big screen and I go, everybody starts laughing, walk up, I win this award. And cut a long story short, Microsoft said sponsor, said a few words. They asked me to go to their head office afterwards, speak to their leadership and quality diversity team about my life just to this point. Spoke to them, turned up, no PowerPoint, no paper. They was like, what are you doing? I said, you asked me to come speak. So I got up, spoke for 30 minutes about my life, got a standing ovation. And they said, you should share that story to inspire kids in schools. So at that point, I started doing that. I had one day off. So I was teaching in a college. I was teaching now, gym instructing, personal training, teaching adults, everything. University, doing all that. I've got a degree. I'm a qualified teacher somehow from a kid who couldn't read and write at 16. And then I went around speaking in schools for 2 years, one day a week while still working at the college until somebody come along and asked me to open my own school.
So what's your self-esteem like now?
I would say my self-esteem now is the best it's ever been. And even at that point I'm talking about now, winning the award, at this point, and I don't share this online, I'd finished 3rd in Pride of Britain because I raised £300,000 for charity out off my own back, no government funding, gave it all out. I run health and wellbeing programs for 100 people at a time every 6 months, transform their life, called it Grimsby and Cleethorpes Biggest Loser. I did loads of community work. I was doing talks, doing all of this stuff. I become a Commonwealth baton bearer. So I'm a national role model, 3rd of Pride of Britain, Commonwealth baton bearer. And at this point, when I'm talking about it, and I still, at that point, had the lowest self-esteem. I thought the house of cards was going to fall down. And it was only at the point when I'd opened my own schools. And the reason I give that context prior to this is not, you'll never hear me talk about my achievements because it's not about the glory of anything.
Well, that's the thing. Everything you speak about there is the external achievements that so many people think that will give them the confidence.
You should be. You'd be thinking, that's it. That's where it comes from. But I'll be honest with you, I was still surviving. I was blagging it every single day. Like I was running on that fear of failure and creating the biggest success. But I wasn't happy. I was always anxious and sad inside. And externally, everyone thought I was the life and soul of the party and I was this innovator and this amazing person. All I was still craving was the external love, care, and attention, which I didn't know was the work I needed to do on being a child at that point. I didn't know that until the point where I ended up 2 amazing guys. I went to speak in their school, an alternate provision said, will you come work for us and can we open a school together? I'm like, where do you start to open a school? I tried to self-sabotage it. The deal was too good. I went to work for them and 7 months later, we put an application into Ofsted to open a school. 12 months later, Ofsted come. We've opened their own school, the 3 of us. 3 council estate kids. Opened a school. Guess what? At this point, I'm only a principal. So I'm sat there, principal of this school. We turned it into, we had 20 kids, then 50, then 80. Then it was 2 schools. Then it was a special school. So it was working with children with social, emotional, mental health, ADHD, global learning difficulties, autism, and severe learning difficulties. Everybody that had been failed by mainstream school, not physical disabilities or mental disabilities. I was the executive principal, two amazing guys, directors, who was running it, the safeguarding and all the business side, the three of us. It was amazing. Their belief in me was unreal. It changed my life. Yeah. They did that. We did that. Someone come along that wanted to buy the business. At this point, I've got not a lot of money, but more money than I ever dreamed. I've got a purpose in life, everything. And the money was enough for everyone to retire. But I needed to stay on because they wanted me to work in the new business. I didn't want to do it. Fear of failure. Fast forward, business sells. I'm moving into this new business. I'm sat on the toilet at home. I open my bank when it goes through and I see the amount of money in my bank. Yeah. I've been craving that financial security my whole life. No dad, no biological dad. My mum's amazing, but she's registered disabled. I've got no one to fall back on. I see that number in my bank. I have a panic attack and I
Wow.
thought I was going to die. And literally I rang 999 on the phone telling them I was dying for about 10 minutes. Yeah. Genuinely, I was telling those going, Mike, you're not dying. I'm dying. After 10 minutes, I said to her, prove to me why I'm not going to die. She went, you're talking to me. You're breathing. And I'm like, and I'd say I would never wish anxiety on my worst enemy. And at that point, I walked back into my ex-partner, and my partner at the time, who's now my ex-partner, said, I'm not happy. And I realized at that point, everything I'd ever done, that money, and I say this, and I might be controversial for saying it, you'll never know money don't make you happy till you've got it.
Yeah.
And when I got it, it didn't take 1 ounce of pain away. That was the day I went to therapy. That was when I booked in.
Okay.
I started peeling back the onion, working through that. And that was when my true journey began.
Yeah. That's fabulous. Yeah. But everybody looks for the validation elsewhere. And even the guys who asked you to start the school, that's gives a little bit. It helps a little bit when people you admire you and want you to do something, and you might start to believe a little bit, but it really has to be the inner work that gets you to that place of self-acceptance.
And I genuinely say that day, when you asked me earlier on, was the true turning point in my life. When I talk about every one of us, in my opinion, the biggest thing you can ever work towards is becoming happy and comfortable in your own skin. That is worth more than any money in the world. No amount of money can give you that peace because we have more conversations in our own mind than we do with anybody else. So if that's not a happy place to be, no money's going to take that away. It will only give you more opportunities to make it worse.
So it has to be back to that asking for help, doesn't it?
Oh,
Whether that's a friend to start
oh,
with or, yeah.
it goes back to when I say when you do that, and I know we'll touch on the things that I know you asked me the question a minute, well, about 20 minutes ago of what would you do to
Yeah,
somebody?
yeah.
But without explaining this, you'd never know why I would say the answer. And
Mm,
me going to therapy, and I say this, therapy is for the strong, not the weak.
yeah,
Genuinely, when I say that, it's not a cliche because the best thing I ever did in life was opening Pandora's box. The
yeah.
worst thing I ever did in life was opening Pandora's box. Because the one thing I say to you is when you become self-aware, yeah,
Mm.
genuinely, and I'll touch on this in a moment about my thoughts and feelings around why suicide's so high. But when we're totally self-aware, that can make you the best version of yourself, but it can also make you a worse version of yourself. Because when I look at it going to now, for me, it led me to pursue that goal of being truly happy. And it was so tough. I had to go I didn't speak to my mum properly. And when I say properly, my mum could breathe in my surroundings and the proximity of me, and I would snap her head off because I blamed her for everything that happened to me. After most probably 18, 19 years, I walked out of a therapy session one day, drove to my mum's on the front, said, I need to come in and see you. And she was like, why are you crying? I said, I forgive you. I'm sorry, I forgive you. Yes, I genuinely, as if my mum ever wanted to go through that. She wasn't strong enough to be able to break the cycle of domestic violence, but I blamed her for it. And did she ever want to be beaten up? No, never. Did she want to be, physically and mentally abused? Like, no, she didn't. Did she want that to happen to kids? No. But my relationship with my mum for all those years and the relationship with myself was driven by anger because I couldn't accept that actually it happened and I needed to be able to move on from it. It was still damaging me 20 years later. And that moment, I felt a weight come off my shoulders. I still work towards having a better relationship with my mum now because you don't just get over it, it doesn't change. Because again, I had informed my subconscious over 20 years about how I felt. You don't undo that over 2 weeks, 2 years. That takes time and effort. And that's when I say to you, to answer the question of how's your self esteem now, it is the best it's ever been, but I constantly have to keep working at it, especially doing what I'm doing. I can remember when I turned around, feel free to ask me the question how it began if you want, but when I first started posting my Burton's positive messages, when I posted the first video, that was done freely because I was in a state of like euphoria, I call it. After that, every single time I put it in and hit the preview button, I'd be thinking, what's that? Does it look right? What's people going to say? Who's going to say this? But repetition is key to inform the way you actually talk to yourself. That inner, that inner self-critic, your self-belief, your self-esteem, your inner voice, whatever you want to call it. Anybody listening to this, let's make it really simple for you. The way you feel about yourself every single day doing simple tasks. And I was posting these videos every day thinking, and I had some people pop up saying some things, loads of people saying nice things, but it was me hitting the preview button. And I always remember this. The biggest achievement in my life, I used to say, was when my son was born, because he gave me an opportunity to right all the wrongs. I'll never hurt him. I'll never abuse him. I'll be his biggest cheerleader, his best friend, and his role model. And he gave me the opportunity to heal properly by proving to the world that in life, if you've suffered domestic violence, it's highly likely that you could be an abuser. So he gave me the opportunity to show I'm not going to be that guy. I am going to be that positive role model. I'm going to make him proud and I want to make the world proud. And that was it. I told everybody that was my happiest and most proudest moment because my dad left me and now I've got a son. And that again is because society says you should. And this is where it gets controversial because actually my biggest achievement was around day 100. I was going along with my phone like this, doing my video, and I always hit preview, as people will know, and I'll watch it. And I smiled and hit send without a second thought. And that was my biggest achievement in life because I looked at that phone
Yeah.
and that was the first day I'd ever felt comfortable in my own skin.
Wow. Yeah, that's some achievement.
And that was the key. And I thought, at that point, my dream is that everybody gets to experience that once in a life.
But as
And I
you
feel
say, Mike, it is that repetition, isn't it? The more you can do something, the more that you either get over the fear of it or you start to realize that your worst fear actually isn't as bad as you thought it might be. That
no,
rejection maybe from
anything. And
other
it's that bit
people.
question. What do you do if you're struggling right now? Start with something really small. One, well, actually, I've got three. If you want me to
Yeah,
answer the question of what I do,
go ahead.
first one is personal accountability. You have to accept you actually have problems. I need help and I want to change. That can't come from anybody else. Not because your mum said, your girlfriend said, you drink too much, your mum says you're untidy in your bedroom, you're going to be a failure. Society says this, your teacher, whatever that person or thing is telling you you should change. If that's the reason you're changing, you're never going to change. Ever. You'll change short term, you'll slip back into it because it's not the personal accountability. You have to literally take ownership straight away. First thing, as I said this before, make a decision. You're going to make it right along the way. I trust you. If you say this and you're watching this, please listen to those words. I want to change and I want to be a happier version of myself. You've made the decision. You've accepted it's not going to be perfect, but you are going to make it right along the way. Now you're off and running. That is it. if you really want to be brave at that point, then tell the people closest to you the same thing. I am going to change. I know I'm not perfect. What I'm about to do is going to be difficult and I'm going to mess up, but I'm going to need you to bear with me. Yeah. Stick with me right now, because then start really small. Life's a game of momentum. It is. Let me say it again. It's a game of momentum. I used to be a rugby player, and that is really how I use this analogy, is to get from one part of the rugby pitch to the next. Very rare you get anybody who can catch the ball and beat all 15 players and score. Doesn't happen. You have to build consecutive possessions. One positive progression, one positive possession, one positive possession. So in life, when I say to you is start really small, build on it, because you have no evidence that you can achieve. So you need to tell yourself, I can do this. Mine started with getting up 30 minutes earlier every single day and giving myself a little walk. That gave me 30 minutes with no distractions to work through the biggest, darkest secrets of my life, because I've opened Pandora's box. So I was saying to myself, this is what I'm working through. This is what I'm going to struggle with today. This is how I'm going to feel about it. I know it's coming. I've accepted it's coming. It's not going to knock me off course. And I've done something positive. I've got outdoors. I've got some fresh air. I've given myself some vitamin D, the things I didn't know at that time because I wasn't very clever. I told you that. But now I am. So I turn around going, so I'm out there supercharging myself without knowing. But what I was really doing is giving myself a state of calm, carry out a positive act, physically moving my body, waking my mind up. Whatever you're doing, one positive thing. That could be making your breakfast. It could be journaling. It could be meditation. It could be jumping in an ice bath. It could be going for a walk. It could be reading with your children. It could be doing anything that you're going to do every single day or as many days as you can, which gives you the first positive start. Once you can do that and it's embedded into your life, we know you've got 7 days, 66 days, all the different terminology. But what I say to people is try and do it more often than not. Let's keep it simple and do something you enjoy. When you've mastered that, before you even try and add something else in, I promise you that will start to happen straight away, because it becomes positivity is contagious. When you start to feel good and your vibration starts high, becoming higher, as we know, we're on a high vibration podcast, suddenly, without you knowing, one of your friends will go, can I come walking with you? And you're like, oh, then you've added a social element, some community to this. Then suddenly it's like, oh, without you knowing, your phones are amazing now because they listen to everything you're doing. So you start getting more positive affirmation stuff possible, more activities you can do. You start joining a club. You might do some education. You might sign up for therapy. You might join a support group. You might go back to the gym. These things will naturally happen when you start to change the way you think. And one of the things I say to people is take personal accountability for it. Make one small change. And I genuinely think, please, if you can make one change, make it your morning routine. And I promise you, this morning I posted it and I said, people go to me, why do you get up at 4 o'clock every day? I don't actually say anybody should get up at 4 o'clock every day. My problem is I started off with a healthy morning routine that became unhealthy. It went from 30 minutes, getting up at 6:30 early, ADHD, compulsive nature, to get up at 3 a.m. and walking a half marathon before I'd even started. That's not healthy. Yeah. But over the time, I've realized there's so many things I like to embed. So if you wanted to take anything from my morning routine, and I'll tell people this, and if you added any bits of this in, so the alarm goes off at 4, I get up and I give myself little tip, golden nuggets coming out here. I've got a 10-second rule. Yeah, I give myself 10 seconds to get my fat ass out of bed, or I've got 10 hours to talk myself out of it. That's my rule. Yeah. My feet touched out the bed. My clothes are ready. 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, get up. Don't want to get up. 9, 7, 6. Yeah, you just have a lay. No snooze. No, out. As soon as you're out, I guarantee 95% of people will not get back into bed if they're already out getting ready. The rest of it will take care of itself. So I do that. So I'm up. I've already won 10-second rule. I've got changed to walk downstairs. I have omega-3. Yeah, I have omega-3, some vitamin D because I live in a country where it's dark most of the time. Yeah, I have my 9 essential amino acids. I have a hydration tablet, that goes into a drink, and a hydrogen tablet, sorry, and then my electrolytes for my hydration. Out the door by 4:15. I'm in the gym or walking with my mate by 4:30. So now I've had some healthy vitamins, got all my hydration in. I'm up, I'm outdoors, I'm either in the gym, I'm meeting my best mate, so I'm having social connection. I used to exercise for performance, and I realized that was wrong, because I realized you should exercise for your mental health. Because if you turn up because you realize it makes you feel good, walk through the door. If I feel great, I work harder. If I don't feel great, I work easier. Guess what I don't do? Stay in bed. It was a game changer. Taking the pressure off. I guarantee lifting a weight that you haven't lifted before feels good for about 5 seconds. Then that's gone. Running a PB running feels great for about an hour till you've posted it on Strava. Then it's gone. Yeah. Turning up to the gym every single day and doing those runs, walks, gym sessions, Pilates, yoga. That's every single day you feel great for hours, because you're not chasing a PB. And funny enough, guess what? Since I started doing that, I'm 4 stone down, fitter than I've ever been. And actually, I never
Wow.
track a thing.
So
When you look at it.
there's a lot of my listeners mightn't be in gym goers. Is your personal best. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And literally, the only exercise you need to do is getting through the door.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because I
So
promise you.
the biggest thing you think people should start with is just getting up that little bit earlier so that they can fit
Genuinely,
in time for one positive habit.
even if that positive habit in the morning is clearing your emails and actioning them before you go out the door.
Yeah.
So you're tackling those problems, you're seeing them, whatever it is. If you're a compulsive workaholic, yeah. And if you're somebody who walks in the office and the first thing you do is open those emails and you feel like, why keep doing that to yourself? But biggest investment anyone can do is literally, no matter the weather, I promise you this, you'll never feel bad for moving.
Yeah.
Movement is the best form of medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And fresh air.
So here's a silly question, we'll call it.
Okay.
But being a positive message, it's all about positivity. What does that mean to you, being positive?
Being positive to me is, I say something at the end of every single one of my videos, which is smile, it's a great day to be alive. So positivity means for me that I am trying to live the most positive day I can every single day, but I accept and I allow myself to have days when I'm not as positive. But if the only positive I can think of is, I've opened my eyes today, I get to smile, I get to right all my wrongs, I get to wake up and work towards making my life better, support the people around me and my communities, and actually allow to give myself some self-care today when I never knew how. So positivity means to me is that it comes in multiple forms and different levels. It's like mental health. You can have the worst day and still be positive because you're positively looking after yourself, which you never knew how to do. So, when I look at it, positivity for me is being grateful that you have the opportunity to make your life better every single day. That is it. And people think my bit is positive messages, and they think sometimes, oh, that's a bit deep. Oh, then he's jumping around in a pink shirt with ducks on. And it's like, because that's life. Positivity means sometimes we have the highest vibration and everybody wants to be around us. Sometimes we have the lowest vibration and nobody wants to be around us. We're not attracting anything. We're just repelling. But when we learn to understand that, positivity means for me is this: no matter what's going on in my life, can I find one positive thing to do every single day that's going to break the cycle of negativity? Because when I say this, I got asked the question in a different format, and I know how you've asked it and why. People said, why are you so positive? And it's because I know what the alternative is, and I'll work every single day not to go back there.
Lovely. Yeah. And that's exactly it. When it comes to what I'm trying to do, it's let people know that we don't have to stay stuck in the emotions that don't make us feel good, in the behaviors that don't make us
What's
feel
positivity
good.
mean to you then? Come on, I'll let you with it. What's it mean to you? Not what you'd say to a client. What does it mean to you? If you're there, what's it straight away when it hits you from the heart? What is it? What's positivity mean to you?
So it's that hopefulness that
Oh, I
today
love
can be
that.
better.
Yes, that. And we overcomplicate life.
Yeah.
Why do we overcomplicate it? There's enough people to do that for us.
It took me years to understand that where my happiness is in the most simple things. It's
Yeah.
in the,
And that's why you're smiling,
yeah,
because you're thinking of them.
yeah.
It's true. because you're feeling those things. You've learned to be grateful for them, and you've practiced it, whether it's affirmations, whether it's journaling. And I always say to people, I can't meditate, but I do walking meditation. Anytime you're at one with your own thoughts and you're genuinely trying to work through something or connect to it, you are meditating.
Yeah,
You are working towards being all these key words that everyone throws. Working. I want to be in flow in the world. The closer I get to flow, homeostasis. We can all make it complicated and fancy, but ultimately, all we're saying is, how close can you get? And this is my simple message: how close can we get to feeling as comfortable as we can in our own skin? That's it, because no one
absolutely.
else is living in it.
Yeah. And it sounds cliche, as you said, when you get the money, that's the only time you know that the money actually
Oh,
isn't giving the
it
happiness.
doesn't.
I've written the books thinking the next book, the next achievement is going to be the thing that gives me that feeling, that recognition, that validation. And it is bullshit, as you said
Yes, love
yourself.
that. It is. Do you know what the best? Do you know that? And I experienced it about 2 months ago. I had a new partner. I have a new partner, and she started jumping in the sea with me.
Ah,
And we'd been and jumped in the sea, and we'd got out the sea. We'd had a great time. Put the dry robe on. I had a coffee. There was a little bit of music. There was a branch on the beach, and we sat there. And the sun was out, but not too much. The coffee was warm, the
mhm.
music was on, and we were sat there, and I just can't explain the feeling. I
Bliss.
can't explain it. I was like, this doesn't even feel like it's my life. That was the closest I've been to like pure happiness and peace. Like I could have been anywhere in the world. I was like, every sensation, every need was met. Because
Beautiful.
the one thing I realized is, and for anybody listening, I've told you everything about my life, and now I know how to fix it because, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I now know there's a broken little boy inside of me that just needs love, care, and attention because he never got it. That's it. I'm a simple creature. Hug me, kiss me, hold my hand, and feed me, and I'm happy.
I think that's a beautiful place to end, even though we could talk forever, Mike.
Yes,
So thank you so much for sharing that and for simplifying the message, because that's what it's all about, as you say. We all need the simple things, the recognition, the love, the validation, and not
it
to be
is.
chasing all of the external crap that doesn't make us happy.
No, it is. And I think I want to say a massive thank you for letting me come on. And I know it's always going to be a different type of podcast to a lot of things because I love the fact that we was able to, go left, right, and it was just emotional. And if anybody's watching, I'm not, the last thing people would say is, come follow me at this page. I'm not worried about that. I'm not. When I say this, if anybody's listening, the last thing I'd like to say to you is, if you've made it this far, and I have that saying, which is smile, it's a great day to be alive, because if you're watching this, you have opened your eyes today when 147,000 people haven't had that opportunity. You have the opportunity to dance one more time, sing one more time, eat a warm meal, right your wrongs, repair relationship, chase your dreams. And just think, there's 147,000 people who haven't got that opportunity. So please, no matter how bad it gets, you are stronger than you know. You do deserve to be happy, and you're an amazing person. So never stop being you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And do go follow him. If you want a little bit of positivity in every day, definitely. But we'll put links, the link to follow below, and a massive hug and appreciation from me and from all of the listeners. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.
So, what a lot of good stuff came out of that conversation. And I'm sure Mike was only getting started in what he would like to share. But I really hope that you took some of the really good nuggets from that, knowing that whatever you're going through, it is your emotions, your feelings are valid. I think that was a really, really good point. It doesn't matter what we all have been through, what you are feeling in your body is valid and is real and should be acknowledged, because a lot of the time we tell ourselves to cop on, to get on with it, that our pain isn't as bad as others. So know that it's okay to feel the way you do, whatever way. But also know that with one small change, everything can change. And remember that you're only stuck if you don't take action. And one small action could be calling a friend, it could be putting up your hand for help. So, whatever that is, please take that step, that next step that you need to get help, because life is tough. There's so many people that are suffering. Your suffering is valid, so get help. So thank you for tuning in. As always, I'll ask you to make sure that you're following the podcast on whatever platform you're listening. Share it. Please get that message out. Share this episode. There are some good, really good points and wisdom in here that could help somebody. So we want to share positivity and uplifting material as much as possible and have that impact, that wider impact on others. And a reminder, the Life Flow community still has a couple of free membership places, so make sure you get the link below. Also, make sure you're following Mike on Instagram and at Mike Burton Positive Messages, but you'll get the link below. And also make sure you're following me on Instagram at Coach Ciara Conlon. And say hi. We'd love to hear from you. And have a fantastic inner day.